Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of BEC Talks. My name is Dave, I'm a communications advisor with the City of Brampton, and we're here today talking about online and offline marketing with the pros. With me is Sandra, an exhibit marketing specialist with Skyline Toronto, and Steve, a managing partner at Sparkitects. Why don't you take a moment and tell us about your business?
Thank you, Dave. As Dave mentioned, I'm Sandra Kennedy with Skyline Toronto Trade Show and Exhibits. I work with small, medium, large-size business, helping them with their trade show marketing program. So when you say trade shows, it's out there, it's face-to-face marketing. So I work with clients, not just on, sometimes when you think about trade shows, you think of just booths or pop-up displays and banners. I work with clients on actually making their trade show work for them. So their pre-show, at-show, and post-show marketing to get their name out there and to be seen.
Great, thanks. Steve?
My company is Sparkitects. I'm the managing partner, and we work with our clients to save them time, money, and frustration by finding the right places to market their businesses online. We take a strategic approach to finding a good message, an aligned vision of their marketing platform, identifying their perfect buyer, and making sure that all of the marketing efforts go towards engaging those people.
Great, thank you very much. So Sandra, small business owners are hearing a lot about target marketing and targeting your audience. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means and why it's important?
Sure, absolutely. Target market is very, very important to look for a target audience. And sometimes when you're asking and working with clients, whether it's small business, entrepreneurs, medium, large size business, it all comes down to the same thing. So I'm going to give an example. If I was to ask someone about who is your target audience, and they would say a company with 50 people or more. Okay, that is a really wide range of people. There's many, many companies with 50 people or more. So then you work on breaking it down. So I really want companies to look at specifics. So is that, what's the industry? So 50 people or more in pharmaceutical. Okay, great. Now 50 people or more in pharmaceutical, but what department? The marketing department, the sales department, and then bring it down to a title. Then when they start to search, they can really zone in on exactly who they need to be finding, who they need to be working with to find the business that's going to work for them.
It's important to understand that not everybody is going to buy your products, no matter what your product is. You'll have people who are very budget conscious, so if you're selling a premium product at a higher price, you're not going to be selling to those people. Similarly, if you are selling a budget conscious product, it might not have some of the premium features or some of the premium expertise that you bring. So the people who are looking for that won't be buying from you. So it's important to really understand who that target audience is so you can really focus your marketing efforts on and have effective marketing.
So many small businesses are one-person shops, small organizations. What are some cost-effective ways to do marketing?
I think there's some great tools out there that you can use to develop your own marketing. Certainly some of the professionals use a lot of high-end graphic design tools, but for example, Microsoft PowerPoint is a great tool that you can use. It's affordable for a low subscription or for a purchase price, and you can do a lot of cool graphic design stuff in that. You can build low-value, low-cost websites if you don't have a large budget. Good thing about using some of those simpler tools is you can be very agile if you need to evolve your marketing message or if you need to change things up. You don't have to go to a professional designer, graphic designer, or printer, get 5,000 copies of something printed, and then find out that it's not quite what you need. So by keeping it small, simple, quick, and agile, you can actually be very versatile in what you're doing and be very responsive to the feedback that you're going to be getting when you're using these types of materials.
I think, can I add to that?
Please.
Add to that a little bit, Dave. So in the field of trade show marketing, when you talk about cost-effective ways to market, a lot of times a small business that, as you mentioned, might be one or two people, an entrepreneur, and they think of trade shows, they think big. So they think large convention centers, they think Congress Center. If we're here in Toronto, they think of these large shows, which is very expensive to get in and for your booth space and shipping, etc. And when I work with entrepreneurs and small business, I talk to them about small shows. So get out there to small local community shows and get your name known. That's where your target audience probably is, and it's a good space at a very cost-effective dollar sign for them to get out there and have themselves seen. So look at small community shows, very important.
I think becoming involved in the community in general is a great opportunity as well.
Absolutely.
Sandra and I are both part of networking groups in the community. There is a cost to some of these networking groups, different costs for different groups of course, but the connections that you can make and being able to meet people who are also in the community and can introduce you to their connections and their referrals is a great way and can be very lucrative. It's been very lucrative for me, and I think
Well, yeah,
for you
because
as well.
know me now. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's great advice. Thank you. A lot of businesses are doing newsletters, using social media, pay-per-click marketing. Steve, maybe you can start. Tell us, what does a business do to stand above the crowd?
I think it's important to, going back to the question that you asked earlier about that target audience, really understand who your target audience is and what they want to hear from you. Don't tell them what you want to tell them. Think about what they want to hear from you, and really make sure that your materials that you're sending out is very focused, has a really strong message, and has an engaging message too. So if you are sending out newsletters, don't tell them about things that are unimportant to them. Grab a headline, the subject line of the email, use that as a headline to really catch their attention, and then once you've got their attention by looking into the body of the newsletter, then really nurture that attention by expanding a little bit more, and then delivering the full message. If you start with a message that is unexciting or unengaging or disinteresting, then you're going to suffer from low open rates and low click-through rates. Same with social media. Have something that is interesting at a glance to catch people's attention and to make them want to engage with that a little bit more.
I can add to that a little bit as well with your online presence. If you really want that to be leverage, I really speak about consistency. You need to be consistent. So you can be out there, you can really make a presence online, but you need to be consistent. So like with what Steve said, a great message, something eye-catching, pictures are good, videos are great to catch your audience, but just be very consistent.
Absolutely.
So Steve, what makes a great website? And when you think of a small business, how do they manage creating a great website? Do they build it themselves, hire someone?
Okay, so what makes a great website? I heard an idea of a pyramid of threes from another marketing consultant. And essentially you've got 3 seconds to catch somebody's attention. Because there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of options. If you go to Google searches, there's millions of results. If you don't spend that first 3 seconds wisely catching their attention and doing the first part of engagement, you'll lose them. They'll go back to the search results, they'll look for something better. So that first impression of your website has to be clean, professional, focused, have a very strong message very quickly, and it's got to come through your visuals. So through your colors, through your layouts, through all those things like that. The second part of the pyramid is 2 threes, so 33. So now you've got 33 seconds. If you can get their attention in that first 3 seconds, you bring them down to the 33 seconds. Now they're willing to spend a little time about looking what else is there. Then you can start talking about your value propositions, your differentiators, things like that. And if you can get through that 33 seconds, the bottom part of the pyramid is 333 seconds, where you can go into some text and some explanations about what you do and how it is that you provide value to them. You can't get to that bottom 333 seconds until you've gone through the engagement and the furthering that engagement. So a great website starts with a very strong, clear visual impression, but really helps the user get to what they're looking for, get to what they came to your site on. So having the paths on your homepage to get them to what they're looking for, whether it's your services, whether it's testimonials, whether it's case studies, whether it's your contact information, having all of that on that first impression of the website is very important for nurturing. Should clients do it themselves? Some people have to from budget requirements. But I say to people who are thinking about doing it themselves, if you needed to have a tooth pulled out, would you go to a dentist or would you go to Walmart and buy some pliers and have at it yourself? Bit of a graphic situation, but I think it illustrates the point. Professional companies that work on online marketing, there's more to it than just building websites and putting images and putting text and putting, all things like that. There's a whole back end to it. There's a whole strategy and structure and a whole level of expertise that you won't get if you do it yourself. So if you have to do it yourself, there's great tools out there to do it yourself with Wix and GoDaddy Site Builder and all these low-cost solutions, but I really don't think you're going to get the expertise and the experience of a professional company.
So Sandra, I'm a small business owner. I've got a great website. I've got social media tools going. What's the importance of the offline component in marketing?
Very, very good question. So moving into, and a lot of it is similar to what Steve was talking about with online, but moving into trade show marketing and outside presence in front of your target audience. So now we're talking about face-to-face marketing. Trade shows being one of the last resorts of face-to-face marketing, and it's still really important for you to be out there, for people to see you, for them to meet you. It's nice that I'm talking to you here, as opposed to, we can go to webinars and we can be online, but it's nice to have that personal relationship. It's still really important for business owners to not forget the personal side and the personal relationship. And just like online, you want to be bold. You have 3 seconds as well when somebody's walking by to catch who you are. So you want to be bold, you want to have a quick message, who you are, what you do, and why someone needs you, and you want to talk and build relationships with people. So it's the same as being out and networking and just getting yourself out there so people trust. Once people trust you and once people know you, that's who you want to work with. That's how businesses work. That's how when you and I want to work with someone, whether it be for a mortgage, whether it be a realtor, you can name many businesses. It's nice to know someone and have a trusting relationship. So I think it's really important for people to be out there and let people get to know them.
So let's talk a bit about marketing material and flyers and print collateral. Do you have any suggestions for great platforms to create great flyers and brochures?
You want me to talk about
Sure.
that? Okay. Well, print material again. So with online and offline, print material has changed a little bit. So print material is important to have, as well as because everybody's got their phones, everybody's got their laptops, surfaces, tablets. There's so many names for the different items that we have that you can use a lot of that. And with your print material, cost-effective ways to do it. I mean, I would ask out in the local community too. There are many print companies and online prints that I think you are safe and okay with. I would use maybe a professional and make sure you hire a proper designer. And speaking back to when Steve talked about building websites, etc. But print, I think you can look online and you can find some pretty good deals, or work with a local printer, a local business entrepreneur who's doing that and can probably do quite a good deal. And the importance of it is you just want to be careful what you use print for. You don't want to be wasting it. You don't want to spend a lot of your budget on print material that goes to waste. So just be careful and be thoughtful in your planning process of how to use those marketing materials.
And I think also the print materials, and for all of your marketing collateral, you have to understand when you're going to use it and how you're going to use it. I think a lot of companies that I work with and talk to make the mistake of they just do brochures because they think they need brochures. They do sales folders because they need sales brochures. They do trifolds. They do all these things without really thinking about how they're going to use that as part of their sales process and to support their sales process. So when I talk to my clients and I talk to people in general about marketing, I always say, think about what the different stages of your sales process are and make sure that they're supported with the appropriate materials. If you meet people at local networking groups, and then there's a follow-up phone call, and then there's an ask for a meeting, and then maybe there's a product demonstration, and then maybe there's more meetings. Think about all of those different stages in that sales process and make sure that they're supported with the appropriate materials. For Sandra's case, when you're in the community and you're meeting people face-to-face, print materials are great because it's a great exchange. And they'll be taken back to the office with them and maybe looked at, maybe not. But in some cases, and hopefully if they are good-looking materials and you created a good initial relationship with that person, they'll look at them again. But earlier in the process, if you're doing a lot online with some with some calls or some emails or some follow-ups or whatever the case is, then having digital versions of that material is probably better because you can attach it to a follow-up email, a thank you email, attach some brochures, attach some spec sheets, attach whatever it is that you want, and then use it that way.
And I think I'm just going to add on to what Steve mentioned. When you're out there in the community, when I'm working with clients, I always tell them absolutely have print material, but keep it behind with you. So whether it's on a little table or something underneath, and when you've had a good conversation with somebody that is meaningful and you think may go somewhere, personally hand it to them when you just sit it out and people just take your materials, chances are it's sitting in the car or sitting in the trunk. It's going to sit somewhere for months. But when you've had a really good conversation, it's the same with promotional materials. If you have pens with your name and logo on it, something that's memorable that you hand to someone, again, it just builds the relationship a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and to that end, I think having some of those qualifying questions in that conversation when you're having when you meet them for the first time, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a trade show, having some qualifying questions are you looking for this? What is your timeline? What is your budget? Can you afford these services from professionals? Or if you're budget restricted, then that's probably not going to be a very lucrative engagement or a very effective engagement. So having some qualification, again, knowing who that target audience is, knowing who that buyer is, and knowing what signals that buyer is going to make, and being able to be aware of those signals, then gives you a better decision on, do I give you some of this stuff? Do I do a follow-up? And certainly, you can collect lots of leads at trade shows. They're not all the same quality, though. They're not all the same caliber. So having some of those qualifying questions and qualifying discussions gives you a better idea of, is this a hot lead that somebody who's really interested on a good timeline, or somebody that's just going to kick tires and is going to ask for quotes and ask for meetings and ask for calls, but they're never going to make a purchase?
So let's say my business, it's really an online sales platform, or I use my website for conversions. How do you get a potential client to move from the print version, the print brochures you have, to that platform, or even from other social media platforms to your website?
So I think the website is the foundation of all your online marketing. If you do pay-per-click marketing, if you do social media, if you do blog posts, newsletters, case studies, downloads, all those things, what you really want to do is get people to your website. That's where your strong call to actions are. It's where a lot of nurturing is. It's where you build a lot of your credibility. You really want them looking around your website a few times to see that you are a professional company that can provide the products and services that they're looking for, and you have the expertise to do it well. The more times they hit your website, familiarity breeds trust, and trust breeds that confidence and that commercial relationship. So if you're on social media, it's great for using social media to get some awareness, but then you have to drive them to a landing page on your website or some relevant content on your website. If you use electronic newsletters, whenever I do electronic newsletters for my clients, we always put a snippet of an article in the newsletter itself and then have a read more link to the full article on the website. You've driven that traffic to your website, and after they've finished looking at that article on the website and read it and loved it, then they can click around and find more about your company. So you're building that credibility and you're building that engagement. So for all of those platforms that are out there, through social media, pay-per-click, whatever it is, for me, the strategy is always try and drive that traffic to your website, because that's where a lot of the buy points are.
So, Sandra, any tips on the trade show floor, small or large, when it comes to that face-to-face meeting and trying to close the sale?
Sure. When you are entering a trade show, and like I talked about earlier, and I just want to emphasize again, look at your local trade shows, look at your local small community shows, whether they're, right now we're in summertime, so there's different festivals going on and celebrations that there are trade shows at when we go out there in the community, go around to different booths. So be bold, be present. When you go, be sure to be on and to engage. Booth staffing, which is a big deal in the trade show world, is more than what we think. So if we're just standing with a booth, with a banner stand, with a pull-up, but we're on our phone, or we're chatting to a friend, or we're sitting behind it in a chair at a table and we're eating our lunch, we're gonna miss some of our really important prospects that are gonna walk right by us. So it can be tiring. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's exhausting, but be bold, be on, be present, and be engaging. Be out there at your booth space, greet people, talk to people, ask them, how they are, what are they doing, what are they, if they're looking for anything specific at the show here today, ask some qualifying questions, and you'll get some great conversations and great relationships made, and then your follow-up will be that much better, and you'll have a much better chance at closing some deals.
Great. And those are great points, Sandra, but how do you feel about people who put a table at the front of their booth?
He's asking me this because he knows I don't like that at all.
I want you to talk about that, because I think it's not a good way to structure a booth as well.
No,
but you probably know more about it than I do.
For sure. I always talk to clients about having an open space. So whatever show you're at, whether it's community show, a large show at a convention center, have your space open. You can have a small table on the side, to the left or the right of the entrance of the booth, but the middle part, say no to the 6-foot tables that are blocking you, because it's kind of saying, I don't need to talk to you, or I'm not open to talking to you. Whereas you're standing in your boot, and take extra shoes. I'm telling you, take extra shoes and make a switch halfway through the day. It'll show in your body language, which is super important because I've been watching you here today. Your body language is really important, so make that part of your show. But yes, make it very open, no tables.
For me, when I go to trade shows, and I do frequent them on a regular basis, the table says, this is you and this is us.
Yes.
And the message that I would want to have at a trade show is, this is us. You're a part of us. We want you to come in and be welcome and feel like you're part of it, and wander around and feel free to see what we're all about.
Absolutely.
Not, this is your side of the table, this is our side of the table, let's talk across the table. So I did want to bring that up, so thanks for doing that.
For sure.
Thanks very much. And either of you, do you have any more marketing tips to share with the audience?
Certainly, I'd like to throw a couple in for consideration. The first thing is, marketing is a holistic approach. It's not offline marketing, it's not online marketing, it's not trade show marketing, it's not a website. Think about your marketing and how they all can help each other. So if you do have a trade show on the calendar, and that's a great event to have on the calendar to spur your marketing efforts, make sure that you're doing build up through your online and offline presences, apart from your trade show, to try and build traffic at that trade show. After the show, have some nurturing efforts as well, where you've collected those contacts and those lead informations from the show. Do some nurturing. Remind them. Do some follow-ups. Put them into an automated newsletter where you maybe send them a drip feed campaign of several messages after the show, so they remember you. The more touch points, the better. The second thing I think is important to consider in marketing is that all of your marketing should be intentional. It shouldn't just be, we're going to go to a trade show because we feel like it, because we think it's cool, and because Sandra called us and says we should. But how is that marketing, how is that trade show event, is it going to be in front of the audience that you're trying to get to? Is it going to be part of a bigger picture of what you're trying to do? Is it going to be effective at communicating, connecting, and engaging? So make sure it's very intentional in what you do. Absolutely.
Do your research.
Don't just, and many companies come and when I get them, they've done some marketing and I say, why did you do that? Not that it's not right, but why did you do that? And they go, we thought it was good. We market on Facebook because we thought it was good. We're selling ERP systems to Fortune 500 companies, and we're putting Facebook ads and we're not getting any traction on them. And I'm thinking, your buyer's not in front of Facebook thinking about ERP systems. So do your research, absolutely. Be very intentional about your marketing. And the last thing I'd offer is to be sincere and to be exactly who you are, because it's hard to fake something that you're not, and people will see right through it, and then they won't trust your brand. And if you don't have that brand trust and that integrity, then people will feel that, even though they might not be consciously aware of it, they'll feel it, and then they won't engage with you as well as you would hope.
Great. Sandra and Steve, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. Thank you for joining us for another in the series of BEC Talks, and we hope you enjoyed it.